It's Thursday, October 7th, 2021. It's going to be a bit unsettled to start the weekend here in the West, although really it's not that bad of a couple of days coming on up. Depends on where you are. Most of you will enjoy mild, comfortable October temperatures. It is going to be wet in the western areas. Western Wyoming, parts of western Colorado, especially Utah and Idaho. You're going to get some rain showers over the next couple of days. Good amounts of moisture, actually. That'll be nice to see. Even a little bit of mountain snow. And the system will slide a little bit more east and gets along and near the divide Friday into early Saturday. This is what I'd call a minor system, but there is going to be some wetness, coolness for the weekend, especially in that Friday-Saturday time frame. And if you're going to be heading into the high country of the region, up high, there's going to be a little bit of mountain snow Friday night and Saturday night. We have a break in the weather Sunday and Monday, and that break quickly erodes, and that stronger storm is still on track to bring high impact event late Monday through Wednesday to the entire interior West. As we mentioned yesterday, and we're going to continue to mention this, we have livestock concerns and certainly hunters. This is one of these storms you do not want to get stuck in the high country with, because it's going to be the type of storm that will probably put down quite a bit of snow in the mountains, wind, and much colder temperatures. We'll get more details as we get closer. The photos keep on rolling in. Another aerial view. Wow, what a gorgeous fall it has been. The colors this year have been spectacular. Thanks to Zach for sending this in. And a shot from Utah. Wow, talk about a beautiful shot right there. The fall colors are hanging on because we haven't really had a big storm yet to get rid of those leaves, although that's about ready to come to an end. On today's satellite imagery, you can see that we've got some systems. We've got a little low right here. That's what's going to be coming on in, producing some showers here over the next couple of days. There's this other little trough up here. It's fairly impressive looking, but as it heads south and east, it's going to weaken a little bit, but it is going to swing through the Central Rockies Friday into Saturday. And that's what's going to be producing our next little batch of weather. It's up here, north of the Aleutians, where the weather is going to be affecting us later on. If we were to zoom in on the satellite imagery, so you can see Alaska here. Here's the Gulf of Alaska. You see these high, thick cirrus clouds right here? These are developing in response to a very strong jet stream that's developing across the northern Pacific. Now, it's a little bit hard to see, but right here is basically the breeding ground for where that low is going to get formed. And we're already seeing that colder air building up there. We're seeing these strong jet stream winds developing, and I want to talk about jet stream winds and the development of these strong storms as you get into the fall season. And as we go forward, we'll take a look at what those jet streams will do and how it will impact our weather. So here's today's chart into tomorrow. This is actually for tomorrow. You can see that broad trough across the western United States, the Pacific Northwest, coming on through. So this is what we'll have to deal with late Friday and the Saturday, bringing the next batch of showers. By Sunday afternoon, that low kicks off into Minnesota, and we're seeing a big change. We're seeing the jet stream and the upper level winds now diving along the British Columbia coast while high pressure, a ridge is building in the Gulf of Alaska and the Eastern Pacific. So once we see this forming, you know that the jet stream is going to buckle and allow the colder air to move into the western United States. This green area representing a fair amount of cold air up there that's coming on in as well. So you're basically putting together Pacific energy and moisture and Canadian cold air, and you're going to combine that with a very strong jet stream wind digging on down, and that's a recipe for a large storm. This is what we're going to have between now and Sunday. Nice rains up in the Dakotas, eastern Montana. They need it up there. And then also look at this area of enhanced moisture right here from the Sierra Nevada through the Wasatch and into some of the central mountains of Wyoming and Colorado, the Wind River Mountains, the Tetons, the eastern Idaho plains there, and even the northern Wasatch and Uintas. And even back into Nevada, going to see some nice rain and some high elevation snow over the next 72 hours. So it's not a big storm, but it is going to bring some nice wetness into that part of the country with this first wave. Up here, you can see the rain beginning to form along the British Columbia coast with the next storm system. This is what the snowfall forecast looks like through Sunday. Not a lot of snow up high, but if you're going to be venturing over the mountain passes, if you're hunting in these areas, you're going to get snowed on a little bit. That's really good to see there in the Sierras. Now, let's take a look at what's going on further down the road. By the time we get into Tuesday morning, we see a deep area of low pressure building over northwest Arizona, headed towards the Four Corners area by noon on Tuesday, then tracking like this as the low deepens. So the high pressure ridge here is getting intensified a bit by this low coming into here. And basically we have a process to where the spin of this low increases the ridge presence there, puts it on an angle, and then spins up the low like this. You have a lot going on in terms of what we would call dynamics in the atmosphere. And a lot of this is due to the strong jet stream winds coming on in. Now, as we go forward, by Tuesday night, the system goes from northwest Arizona and then it goes along the front range of southeastern Wyoming and northern Colorado before getting a kickoff to the northeast. Cold air pours in on the backside of the system, and also this system is going to be able to draw in some warmer, more humid air from the south and east as it intensifies, while at the same time it drags in much colder Canadian air in behind it. You put those two together and you're going to have a volatile mix of weather. These are the potential wind gusts with this storm. And that's one thing I want to talk about, is that this storm is going to be a big wind producer. The numbers you see are the wind gusts potentially with this storm. 63 mile per hour wind gusts possible in the Cheyenne area. As you look along the front range of Colorado, as you get near Boulder, as you get up west of Fort Collins, you're looking at a very strong winds, and then very strong winds across South Dakota, central and northeastern Wyoming, and western areas of Nebraska. And then strong winds on the bottom of the low as it comes out across Arizona and New Mexico. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts with this system. Now let's talk about the jet stream. So I'm going to throw out a weather geek alert. If you're a weather geek, you're going to like this. If you're not a weather geek, this is probably too much information. But I want to show you some what we call the 300 millibar map. This is approximately about 30,000 feet. So when you think of 300 millibars, think about 30,000 feet. This is where we really watch the development of where the jet stream pattern is going to go. What you see with the colors here are basically representing wind speeds. The black lines represent areas of equal pressure, and you can see the shape. You can see the troughiness. You can see the ridges with this pattern. But what we are paying attention to is this red area here, where you're looking at jet stream winds that are in the neighborhood of 120 to 150 miles an hour or more. And if you were to look really closely along the illusions here, you see this little patch of brown? So you're talking about jet stream winds in excess, okay, of 160 to 170 miles an hour. These are actually in knots. So those wind speeds are actually higher. There's actually another little patch of gray right here. What happens is this jet stream energy is directed due south. When you take air and you change latitude, when you go from a high latitude to a low latitude and you move that air directly south and you change latitude quickly, this causes a natural spinning motion in the atmosphere, okay? Spinning motion that'll go counterclockwise. And that spinning motion gets caught up at the base of the trough. So when you have a lot of jet stream energy coming in, it's just energy. It's energy available for the storm to come together. And what'll happen is you go from this to the concentration now of the stronger jet stream winds down into Colorado here. And now the jet stream winds are more directed to the north. So there's quite an adjustment, basically quite a change from this to this. This energy and this energy back here then gets transferred to this energy here. And we've got the upper level low at 300 millibars over western Colorado. And then if we were to zoom in, this is by Wednesday morning. The strongest jet stream winds are now directed like this. And this causes a very intense area of low pressure to form. Also, when you have very strong jet stream winds like this, it causes the atmosphere to lift. And when you lift the atmosphere, this is what causes clouds. This is what causes the precipitation. Also, it helps to draw in more moisture and higher humidity air in from the south and east, while the cold air rushes in from the northwest. And this northern and northwest quadrant of the low is where the most stormy weather will go. And what will end up happening is you get a very strong area of low pressure that will form on the plains right here underneath these strong upper level winds. So when we have a situation like this where there's a lot of energy at that jet stream level and you're able to transfer that jet stream energy into the trough for the low pressure system is when you get your stronger storms. These are the temperatures relative to average by noon on Wednesday. And you can see temperatures really fall across the west. But I want you to notice this tongue of red. See this tongue of red getting sucked into western Nebraska by noon on Wednesday? That's because the low, the counterclockwise spin, is drawing that wedge of warmer air into the storm system. This means higher humidity air because the warmer the air is, the more water is in the air. And when this warmer conveyor belt, let's call it, gets pulled into this colder air mass here, that's where you're going to get a lot going on. And this is what the precipitation forecast looks like basically between Monday night and next Friday. You can see all the red and the oranges here, and you can see there's a tendency for the heavier, the darker moisture to be along and east of the divide. That's because of the upslope that will develop behind that storm system. And then you convert that to snow, and this is the snowfall forecast. Again, take this with a grain of salt. We also think that this snow might be further out on into the plains as well. So stay tuned, folks. We'll keep you updated. We'll have more details for you tomorrow on next week's weather pattern change. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.